in Homs after defeating the armed terrorist groups that turned the locals' lives into living hell. The terrorist groups, who are financed and directed by foreign powers, perpetrated atrocious crimes, horrified the civilians and attacked public buildings. The terrorists erected roadblocks and barricades in the streets, restricting the movements of civilians and using force to prevent them from going to work, in addition to threatening and killing those who reject their orders. The terrorists also occupied schools, medical centers, and public establishments by force, turning them into centers for killing, abduction, and torture. They also took over some houses in the neighborhood and drove their occupants out, turning these houses into terrorist hideouts.
I live in Baba Amr since 30 years. We can't accept this destruction. They destroyed our houses. They installed barricades. We were forbidden by the armed groups from bringing bread to our families or going to our work. My wife and I, along with 3 kids, were at our house. 2 of my brothers were also with us. 2 masked men knocked at the door and killed my brothers. I started shouting. They told me, "Shut up, or we will kill you." I said, "What shall I do with my brothers' bodies?" They said, "Bury them here, where we shot them."
They asked us to remain here. They deported the families they know. And we remain here. We know no one.
We were locked in one room. The terrorist groups would come and shot fire. The armed terrorist groups were firing bullets and put fire into wheels. What we can see in Baba Amr is not new, as we noticed that there has been years of planning to destroy Syria's independence. The weapons did not enter into this area during the crisis. This shows that the Syrian crisis was prepared by some Western circles with the help of some Arab Jews.
There were terrorist groups. They would not let us come and go, and they were terrorizing the people, and that's what was happening.
We condemn the ones who are behind this, the ones who destroyed our country.
After the sun goes down, everyone is afraid of leaving their home. If you open the door, you will get shot. You can see my house. It's full of bullets. There are bullet holes in the doors and in the walls. We are all staying in one room. That is what they call freedom?
The armed terrorist groups were using foxholes like this to target civilians and riot police hiding behind these big shields. The techniques used by the armed terrorist groups reflect the planning that was made for these operations and the support of the foreign and Arab military establishments. It is obvious when we look at this foxhole that was used by the terrorists who only care about money. This field hospital was being used to treat the wounded terrorists in Baba Amr area. When we see this equipment in a field hospital, we can conclude that there are states supporting these terrorists so they can continue to spread blood. However, the special units affiliated to the Syrian army and the security forces cleanse this area of the terrorist groups and this crime to bring back some of what the people here were robbed of under gunpoint. In these streets of Bab Amr, the games of the Istanbul Council, and this is what they have planned for every village and city in Syria. However, the dreams of their masters were broken here, and history will mark Syria as the graveyard of all the conspiracies.
We were detained in our house for months. This is the first time we can go out.
I saw in the hospital yesterday an old man who was shot in the leg by the terrorists.
We were held captives inside our houses and could not get out at all. The terrorists targeted civilians, including adults and children, women and the elderly. They also sabotaged houses and schools. This school was destroyed by them after they used it as a hideout.
Terrorists took over this school and prevented students from entering.
People couldn't send their children to school and teachers couldn't reach the schools. Many families left the neighborhood because of the terrorist crimes.
The Syrian Arab Red Crescent delivered the bodies of U.S. journalist Marie Colvin and French photographer Remy Oshlik to the representative of the Polish and French embassies in Damascus at Al-Assad University Hospital. Chairman of the organization, Abdurrahman Al-Attar, said in a statement that Syrian Arab Red Crescent team received the bodies of the U.S. journalist and French photographer from the authorities in Homs. After that, the bodies were transported to Al-Assad University Hospital in Damascus, adding that the two bodies were identified in the presence of specialized doctors and representatives of the Polish and French embassies and the International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC. Security forces clashed with an armed terrorist group which attacked law enforcement personnel in Hama, leading to killing one terrorist, wounding and arresting several others, and seizing their weapons. Security forces also found various kinds of weapons in a farm in Douma, Damascus countryside. Some of these weapons were Israeli-made. A terrorist suicide bomber detonated this morning a car he was driving at Al-Masri Square in Daraa. The bombing killed and injured a number of civilians. The Syrian TV correspondent in Daraa said that the terrorist bombing killed 3 civilians and injured 20 others, including law enforcement officers. The bombing also caused huge material damage at the square and the nearby shops. Vice President Dr. Najah Al-Attar underlined the importance of the historical relations between Syria and Iran. During her meeting with a press group from Iran, Dr. Al-Attar stressed the importance of upgrading the common stances in face of the international hegemony powers, which are continuing their schemes to dismember the region and make it suitable for Israel's interests. For their part, the Iranian journalists expressed their support for Syria in confronting the conspiracy. During his meeting with the Iranian delegation, the Minister of Information, Dr. Adnan Mahmoud, called for expanding cooperation between the two states in confrontation of the media war the two states are facing. He referred that the Syrian people are facing the terrorism of armed groups supported by Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Turkey. Vice Foreign Minister Dr. Faisal Al-Maqdad reviewed with the Iranian delegation the conspiracy to which Syria is being subjected to, with the aim of undermining its pivotal role in the region. He pointed out that the support of some Arab states for the armed groups would negatively reflect on these states. Dr. Al-Maqdad briefed the guest delegation on the package of reforms taken by the Syrian leadership in all domains.